Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something that I think creates a physical reaction for a lot of us. It's that tightness in your chest when you open the social media, the sheer noise of the creator economy.
Yes.
You know, the drill, the relentless advice.
Yeah.
Telling you to wake up at 4 a.m., plunge into an ice bath, post 5 times a day, and essentially hustle yourself into an early grave.
It is exhausting just hearing you say it. It's the hustle industrial complex, isn't it?
It is.
And it's a trap that catches so many intelligent people. They want to build something of their own, maybe a side income or a way to share their research. But they look at that model and just think, I simply cannot do that.
I'm not a marketing machine.
And I don't want to be.
It feels like the only options are stay in your lane or sell your soul. But today, we are pivoting away from that completely. We're exploring a document curated specifically for the overwhelmed knowledge worker. It's titled The Mindful Solopreneur Playbook, 2026 edition.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, this feels different. What makes this source stand out from the sea of YouTube gurus?
I think context is everything here. This is an advice from a 20-year-old who made a lucky crypto trade. The system was curated by a PhD researcher from a group called Too Simple Life. So there's a level of academic rigor applied to the problem.
I see.
It's looking at the intersection of technology, culture, and human well-being. It treats the business not just as a money printer, but as a system that needs to fit into a human life.
So it's less about how to make $1 million next week.
It's less.
And more about how to build a life you actually enjoy living.
That's the core of it. The philosophy here is about shifting your identity from being a doer of tasks, which is where most of us get stuck, constantly spinning plates to a director of systems. The goal isn't maximizing revenue at all costs. It is, and I love this phrase, systemizing your freedom.
Systemizing your freedom. That's a compelling hook. So let's unpack that. How do we get there? The playbook is built around a few pillars, and the first one seems almost counterintuitive. It starts with subtraction.
It does. It starts by redefining what success actually looks like. In the traditional startup world, or even the academic track, success is almost always defined by scale.
More staff, bigger grants, larger offices.
Exactly. The ultimate goal is usually exitability, building something massive so you can sell it. This playbook just flips that on its head. It focuses on permissionless leverage.
Permissionless leverage. That sounds a bit technical. How would you define that for someone who hasn't read the theory?
Okay, think of it this way. Permission leverage is money or labor.
Right.
To get money, you need a bank or an investor to say yes. To get labor, you need employees to say yes. Permissionless leverage is code and content. You don't need to ask a boss, a partner, or a publisher for permission to create a piece of software or write a blog post. You own the distribution. But, and this is the kicker, to get there without burning out, you have to embrace anti-goals.
Anti-goals. This is a concept heavily influenced by a guy named Justin Welsh, who features a lot in the source material. But looking at his background, he wasn't always a mindful operator, was he?
Far from it. And I think that's why his perspective resonates so much. It's a cautionary tale.
Okay.
Back in 2018, Welsh helped build 2 companies past $1 billion valuation. So on paper, he was the definition of success, but the reality was grim. He suffered a massive panic attack, a full-blown medical emergency that, mimicked a heart attack.
The body just saying no when the mind won't.
Precisely. He was drinking too much, eating poorly.
Yeah.
The sheer pressure of the hustle just broke him. And that is the burnout trap we talked about at the start.
So he didn't just tweak his schedule. He had to pivot his entire philosophy.
Completely. He decided to unsubscribe from that performative hustle, and he developed these anti-goals.
So instead of asking, how can I grow my revenue to the moon, he starts asking different questions.
Totally different questions. He's asking, what do I want to avoid? Do I want to avoid 8:00 a.m. meetings? Do I want to avoid managing a team of 20 people? Do I want to avoid wearing a suit?
You design the constraints first.
Yes.
That's fascinating. Usually we design the business and then try to squeeze our life into the cracks left over. This reverses the polarity.
You design the lifestyle constraints, and the business has to fit inside them. And that leads to this philosophy of anti-scale.
Right. There
is an amazing data point in the text. Welsh notes that his business operates at roughly an 89% profit margin.
89%. That's practically unheard of. A traditional agency might aim for what, 20%, 30%?
It's staggering. And he achieves it by rejecting the urge to hire staff. He keeps the headcount at 1 himself. He isn't splitting the pie.
But to do that, you need immense discipline.
Immense. The playbook mentions a specific rule here, the architect's rule.
And what's that?
Choose one model. Do not try all of them. The danger for smart, curious people, like the PhDs or developers listening to this, is that they see 20 different opportunities. They want to launch a podcast and a newsletter and a consulting firm.
And a software tool.
The architect's rule says, pick one lane, master it. Do not try to be everything to everyone, or you'll just end up with a graveyard of half-finished projects.
That hits a little close to home. I think we've all got that folder of great ideas we started and abandoned.
We have.
But let's play devil's advocate. We have the philosophy, anti-goals, anti-scale. It sounds idyllic.
Yeah.
But practically speaking, if you are a one-person business, you are the CEO, the janitor, the marketing department, all of it. Yeah. How do you manage that without your brain exploding?
That is the biggest hurdle. If you don't have a system, you will drown. And that brings us to the second part of the playbook, organizing the digital brain.
Right.
It draws heavily on Tiago Forte's work, specifically building a second brain.
I've heard this buzzword thrown around a lot. Second brain. It usually involves some really complex system of tags and folders that nobody actually keeps up with.
It can be. But the playbook offers a simplified version. It uses the C.O.D.E framework. Capture, organize, distill, express.
And what's the most critical part for, say, mental health?
The capture phase, without a doubt. Because your brain is designed for having ideas, not for holding them.
Okay.
The minute you try to remember to send an email or remember a great quote you read, you are using processing power. The rule is, whenever you have a thought or see a piece of research, you move it out of your head immediately into a trusted digital notes app.
So you're not carrying that mental baggage around. It's like clearing the RAM on your computer.
Exactly. But here is where people fail. Capturing is easy. Hoarding is the problem.
We've all saved 100 articles to a Read Later app and never looked at them again.
Of course. That's where the distill step comes in. The advice here is layered distillation.
Layered distillation.
You don't just save an article. You read it and you highlight the good parts. Then, and this is the key step, you bold the very best parts of those highlights.
Okay.
And then you write a 2-sentence executive summary at the top. The goal is that when you find this note in 6 months, you don't have to reread the whole thing. You just read your summary and the bolded text. You make the essence of the idea discoverable.
That sounds incredible for a researcher, but realistically, who has the time to do that for every single article they read?
Well, you only do it for the really high-value stuff. The argument is that you actually spend more time rereading and searching for lost information than you would spending 2 minutes summarizing it up front.
It's an investment in your future self.
That's it.
Fair point. Now, what about filing? My digital desktop looks like a bomb went off in a library. I've got folders named MISC, Old, Work, and stuff.
You are not alone. Most of us organize by a subject like psychology or marketing. The playbook argues this is a mistake. It recommends the PRA system. Projects, areas, resources, archives.
And how is that different?
It organizes by actionability. A project has a deadline and a specific outcome, like finish Q3 report. An area is something you have to maintain indefinitely, like health or finances.
I see.
And resources are things you're interested in, but they aren't actionable yet.
So when I sit down to work on Monday morning, I'm not navigating a library of marketing theory. I'm going straight to the project folder for launch campaign.
Precisely. It biases your environment towards action. The playbook uses this beautiful metaphor for it, the digital cathedral.
A digital cathedral.
Your digital space should be like a cathedral, structured, quiet, inspiring, and conducive to deep thinking, not a chaotic, cluttered storage room where you can't find anything.
I like that image. It sounds peaceful. But let's be real. Even in a cathedral, the floor needs sweeping. Even with a second brain, there is still work to be done. Admin, emails, coding, and if we're following the anti-scale rule, we aren't hiring employees. So who does the grunt work?
This is where we shift to the most futuristic part of the playbook, the concept of AI staff. The playbook says we need to stop thinking of AI as just a chatbot, like a calculator, and start treating it as a staff member.
All right, let's meet the team. The playbook lists 3 specific roles. First up is the Chief Knowledge Officer.
This is a role filled by Google's NotebookLM. And the choice of tool here is very, very specific. We've all seen ChatGPT hallucinate.
It confidently makes up facts or citations.
Yes. And if you are an academic or an expert building a reputation, That is unacceptable. You cannot build a business on made-up data. One false citation and your credibility is toast.
So why is NotebookLM different?
Because of a feature called grounding. You upload your specific sources, your PDFs, your notes, your transcripts, and you effectively wall off the AI. You tell it, only answer using the information in these documents.
So it becomes a shared brain that knows exactly what you know.
It's not searching the entire internet, it's synthesizing your library. You can ask it to find connections between a paper you wrote 5 years ago and a book you read yesterday. It's not guessing, it's retrieving. That is your chief knowledge officer.
Okay, that handles the thinking. Who handles the doing? The admin automator.
This is Zapier. The playbook describes Zapier not as software, but as the delivery system of the business.
Right.
Justin Welsh talks about automating the boring stuff. Think about what happens when you sell a digital product. Usually you have to send an invoice, then send a welcome email, then add them to a calendar.
The death by 1,000 clicks.
Exactly. Zapier links those apps together. The trigger is new sale, and the action is do all those other things instantly. You design the workflow once, and the robot does it forever. The text suggests this can save 25 hours a week.
That's 3 full workdays. That's significant. And finally, the third member of this AI staff, the one that scares me the most, the coding lever.
This is for the non-technical solopreneur. The tools mentioned are Cursor or Lovable.
I've always just assumed that if I want software, I need to hire a developer or learn Python.
That barrier is collapsing. The source material talks about a world of disposable apps. With a tool like Lovable, you can describe a problem in plain English.
For example,
I need a dashboard to track my daily writing word count and visualize it on a graph. And the AI writes the code and builds the interface for you.
So we are moving from I need to learn to code to I need to learn to describe what I want clearly.
Precisely. You are the architect, the AI is the builder. You can turn a fleeting thought into a functional product in minutes.
It really does seem like the barrier to entry has just collapsed. You have a research partner, an admin team, and a developer.
Yeah.
All for the cost of a few monthly subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
But here is the skepticism creeping back in. If it's this easy to build, isn't everyone going to do it? And how do you actually get anyone to pay you? We still have to avoid that salesy vibe that makes everyone cringe.
And that is the aha moment of the playbook. It addresses the salesy problem directly using a strategy called the trust tripwire.
Trust tripwire. That sounds a bit aggressive. What does it mean?
It's actually very gentle. The idea is that in a high-noise world, trust is the scarcest resource. So you don't try to sell a $2,000 consulting package to a stranger.
That requires a huge amount of persuasion.
Instead, you create a high-value, low-cost product, say $50. Welsh's first product was just $50.
That seems incredibly low for someone with his experience. Surely he's leaving money on the table.
He is, intentionally. That's the point.
Yeah.
You over-deliver massively on that $50 product. You give them $500 worth of value.
Right.
When the customer opens it, they are blown away. I can't believe I got all this for $50. And that moment trips the wire of trust. They stop seeing you as a marketer and start seeing you as a valuable resource.
So you're playing the long game. You're effectively paying in the form of underpricing to acquire their trust.
Exactly. And once you have that trust, you don't need to sell the next thing. They are waiting for it.
Okay, so we have the system and the sales strategy. But for the listener sitting there thinking, I don't have a product yet, the playbook outlines 3 specific MVP models. Minimum viable product models. Let's run through them quickly. What's Model A?
Model A is the faceless curator. This is perfect for the introvert who hates the idea of being on camera.
I think that's a lot of us.
You use tools like Wondercraft to create podcasts or Suno to create lo-fi music. The value you provide is curation. You are filtering the noise for a specific niche, a lo-fi beats for coding channel, or a podcast that summarizes history papers.
You build an audience without ever showing your face. Okay, Model B.
Model B is the AI artisan. This is for the writers and creatives. You use a tool like C.O.D.E to help structure and draft books and Midjourney for art. The example given is publishing niche books on Amazon KDP.
And niche is the key word there, isn't it? You aren't trying to write the next Harry Potter.
No, you're writing a guide for a very specific problem or a children's book for a very specific demographic. You serve the long tail.
And finally, Model C.
The service provider. This is drop servicing. You find a business problem like we need better email marketing, and you use your AI agents to do the heavy lifting of the analysis. You act as the strategic director. You sell the solution, not your hours.
So whether you're a curator, a creative, or a consultant, the underlying theme is the same.
It is. The theme is that the goal isn't more work. It isn't a bigger office. It is permissionless leverage. It's building assets that work while you sleep, or while you study, or while you spend time with your family.
It really circles back to that anti-scale philosophy we started with. Keep it simple. Keep the margins high. Keep your sanity. It sounds wonderful, but I imagine the transition is the hardest part.
It is the hardest part.
Going from I must answer every email immediately to I'm the architect is a huge psychological shift.
It is. It requires saying no to things that look like opportunities. It requires ignoring the FOMO when you see someone else hustling on social media. But the playbook argues that the hustle is actually a lack of strategy. If you are working 16 hours a day, you haven't built a business.
You've built a trap.
You've built a trap.
That is a powerful thought. We've covered a massive amount of ground today, from anti-goals to the digital cathedral to hiring your AI staff. But I want to remind everyone listening that this isn't just abstract theory.
No, it isn't. The Mindful Solopreneur Playbook we've been discussing is a tangible system. It's available as a downloadable Notion dashboard.
Right. So if you want to actually implement the C.O.D.E system or set up these anti-goals, you don't have to build it all from scratch.
You can find the link to toosimple.live in the show notes. You can essentially duplicate this entire PhD curated system directly into your own workspace. It's about moving from consuming this information to actually applying it.
And I think that's the perfect place to leave it. We've given you the philosophy and the tools. Now it's about making that shift from doer to director.
And I'll leave you with one final question to mull over, something that really struck me from the source material. It's a question we should probably ask ourselves every morning. Are you building a business that you actually want to wake up and run, or are you just building yourself a more stressful job?
A question well worth answering. Thanks for diving in with us.
A pleasure.
See you on the next Deep Dive.